my doctor didn't know jack shit about trans people, and he tried to refer me to like a gynecologist. Hello and welcome back. My first video got way more views than I ever thought it would, and it's still getting views, which is honestly pretty amazing. So I decided that, unlike me, I would actually make a follow-up video and do something more than once a year, which is pretty amazing for me because I tend to get into things and then never do them again. But yeah, for the last video, I kind of talked about like just how I realized I was trans, I guess. But I did breeze over a lot of stuff, so I kind of wanted to make this video to maybe go into a little bit more detail and possibly talk about some of those earlier signs before like my realization that I kind of ignored, and then yeah, like the experience of getting on hormones as a kid. I remember like I always wanted long hair, and there was like quite a few different things. Like I wanted long hair. I was always very jealous of girls. I never felt like a desire to want to be one, but it felt like a jealousy of like maybe the relationships that they had and kind of like the way that they experienced the world. It almost seemed like a much better thing, and I always remember being deeply jealous. And I mean, as a kid, if you're not educated on that, you don't really see that as a sign. But yeah, growing up, I think that those thoughts never really went away. And I remember once I started to hit puberty, and puberty was like very early, I remember being like pretty ashamed of my body hair and kind of like different traits about myself that were coming out. And I never, like when you're young, you never really think about that as possibly being a sign, or I mean, you don't know until you know, right? And I remember like always wanting to shave my legs and stuff, and wanting to like always really gravitating towards like dressing differently, and like yeah, the same idea, the relationships and everything. And as I grew older, I became more and more like uncomfortable with myself and just like my body image, and I think that eventually led to like some pretty bad disassociation issues. But maybe I'll get more into mental health in another video. But yeah, as I grew older, I became more and more uncomfortable with myself. And I remember there being a few different occasions as I started to become more of like an adult. The first big one was I was on a trip, and it was like one of those like tour trips where you all drive around in a truck together. And there was like a night where all the guys were putting on dresses and all the girls were like dressing us up or whatever. It's like a fun night where we all went out drinking and everything. Like that was the first time I've ever worn a dress. It caused me to like get like super upset, and I didn't really know why. And I think my brain kind of made a bunch of excuses and filled in the blanks because I didn't have the knowledge maybe necessary to understand that. And yeah, that was one of the first really big moments that like post coming out I kind of realized was maybe a giant sign. And another one was when FaceApp originally came out, you know, the app where you can take a picture of your face and switch yourselves to another gender. I remember doing that and seeing my face as a girl, and I remember being completely obsessed with that picture. And this was when I was still probably 18 or 19. And I remember being completely obsessed with that photo for months and months and months. And then like even like a year or 2 years later, I still thought about it. But yeah, I never had the knowledge per se to really like expand upon or like understand that beyond it like being in my head. I kind of forgot about it, and this is when I kind of like went more into like really compensating, like growing out like a huge beard and getting like really into working out and like becoming this like giant dude or whatever, and like putting on as much weight as possible and getting like becoming as much of a beefcake as I possibly could. And I remember yeah, like even though I got to this like crazy size and I was on like so much pre-workout and protein shakes and everything all at once, I remember never being happy with the way I looked, and which is insane, right? And I always thought, oh, like maybe I need to go bigger, I need to go harder, I need to try harder. And yeah, this like addiction to changing my body kind of like took over a couple of years. The timelines are kind of blurry now that I think about it. Well, I went to like journalism school and stuff, but then for like a semester, and then I went to art school, and that's where I first became like really exposed to like the LGBT like world, I guess, because like arts and culture and queerness like go really hand in hand, and like my amazing school is completely open to that, and I kind of got more and more exposed to it, and I started to like let my walls come down, and letting these walls come down came hand in hand with therapy. That eventually led into the summer I talked about before in my previous video. It was the summer of 2019. Working that construction job, this was the second summer I've worked for them. And yeah, that's when I started having those really intense thoughts, and then eventually that led to coming out. I started having a lot of those feelings, and that eventually led to me coming out to my closest friends. And yeah, eventually I started like shaving my beard and everything, which I went into in my previous video. And so I think the experience of the first few months of being out were like really cool, and I think they were very transformative because I was not comfortable at all with being trans yet. I wasn't even out publicly. I didn't start going by new pronouns or anything until a few months after privately coming out. That's when I started pursuing hormones, and it was really tough to get on hormones. I remember, it wasn't super hard per se, but it just took a long time, and I paired up with this amazing community organization in my city, and they helped me along a lot of the way, like immensely, because before I met up with this community organization, I tried going to my family doctors. My doctor didn't know jack shit about trans people, and he tried to refer me to like a gynecologist originally, and I was like, bro, I don't know if you know what a gynecologist is, but it ain't what I'm after. And this guy, whatever, I don't mean to drag him, he just wasn't educated, but that's a big part of the problem. But I eventually found that community organization through the recommendation of some people I knew, and that went pretty smoothly. It took quite a few months, but it was pretty smooth to get finally onto hormones. I had to meet with a doctor and do all the blood tests and everything. And starting hormones was a really gratifying process, and I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about in this video. I mean, how much can I ramble on about anything looking like Morticia Addams, right? But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to talk about. If you liked it, then leave me a comment, or just check me out on Instagram too. It's @Volstad. And hope you have a great day. Another day in quarantine.